Oh, how I wish I was in Peoria, Peoria tonight. Oh, how I miss the mud in Peoria, Peoria tonight.
How are you all doing today? Well, welcome to the meeting of the Peoria Wide Awakes. Let's start as we always do by singing our anthem. Come, Uncle Sam, be wide awake. Too long have you been sleeping. Be on your guard to crush the snake that round you has been creeping. For almost has it charmed your eyes to such imprudent blindness that it could take you by surprise and crush you for your kindness. Come on, Yankee Doodle, wide awake. Be silent, you should never tell you drive this pauper snake from...
Son, what in heaven's name are you doing?
Can't you see I'm conducting a meeting of the Wide Awakes, of course?
Son, do these good people look like members of the Wide Awakes to you? I don't see any capes or torches. Did you think about that?
Oh, no.
Well, did you notice the confused looks on all their faces?
Well, now that you mention it...
Son, you are confusing your engagements. The Wide Awakes meeting is later. We'll discuss the Wide Awakes and other matters in due time, but for now, take off that garb and you can come back when you've made yourself presentable. He's a good boy. He'll do me proud one day, but right now, good heavens. Well, I can tell by those confused looks exactly what you're all thinking. You're wondering how I'm old enough to have a son his age. I jest, of course. You're wondering why you're there and I'm here, and the fact of the matter is there's a great many reasons why you might find our story compelling. The name is Bestor. That's George Clinton Bestor, and I came to wear many hats in my life. Industrial, real estate, politics. Why, we Bestor men have a long history of working in the government. In fact, I was born in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., in April of 1811, to my mother and father, who was Postmaster of the United States in those days. Now, through my father's connections, I secured a job growing up as a page in the House of Representatives. Eventually, I moved up to the position of assistant document clerk. I worked there until coming to Peoria with my wife, George L.'s mother. Now, you're probably wondering, with such a taste and passion for politics, why I would ever come to Peoria. Yeah. Well, in those days, Peoria was one of the most promising points in the West. Yes, that's right, I said the West. At least then it was. A growing population and a prime location was attracting many people to this part of the country. I was a young man of energy and enterprise. I began working here in real estate and donated the land upon which the first city hospital was built. After that, I was a president and financial agent for several railroad companies here in Peoria. In fact, we developed a patent for a fireproof railroad car. Eventually, I gravitated back into politics, first as a trustee for the city of Peoria, and then as postmaster appointed by President John Tyler. As you know, in those days, we didn't have Democrat and Republican parties. We had Whigs and Democrats. I busied myself with Whig politics until the formation of the Republican Party. I'm not going to lose any of you by revealing that, I hope. In 1851, I was elected mayor of Peoria and eventually moved into the state senate. During these times, I was heavily involved in the various campaigns of one Mr. Abraham Lincoln, first for the Senate and then in his bid for the presidency. All right, you can come back. I'm getting to your part. Now, as I said in those days, my family...
Hello, I'm George L. Bestor, son of George C. Bestor. I was born right here in Peoria in 1837. And at the age of 15, I went to work for my father in his real estate business. And did you know that through that business, we donated the land for the very
first city hospital? I already told them that.
Well, did you tell them about the fireproof railway car?
Yes, you missed that as well.
What about the gunboats?
I'm not there yet. I was just about to tell them about your Wide Awake organization, but now that you're here, feel free.
The Wide Awakes were an organization we founded in 1860 for young Republicans. I'm not losing any of you by revealing that fact, I hope.
Like father, like son.
We originally held our meetings above Clegg's Grocery on Main Street. But the organization proved so popular that we relocated to our home, an impressive brick structure known to the community as Bestor Hall, located in the 200th block of Pennsylvania Avenue.
Don't bother going to look for it now. It was demolished in 1930.
We were devoted to the presidential campaign of Abraham Lincoln. Our mission statement was to 1. Act as political police.
2. To escort duty to all prominent Republican speakers who visit our place to address our citizens.
3. To attend all public meetings in a body and see that order is kept and that the speaker and the meeting are not disturbed.
4. To attend the polls and see that justice is done to every legal voter.
5. To conduct themselves in such a manner as to include all fellow Republicans to join them.
6. To be a body, join together in large numbers to work for the good of the Republican ticket.
All members of the Wide Awakes pledged themselves to do good service for old age. In fact, I was elected president of the Peoria chapter of the Wide Awakes.
I believe you were elected vice president.
That depends on the source. Some places even say I held both positions. But for right now, let's just say that I was president. In the summer of 1860, to show our support for the Republican Party, we attended their second ever national convention in Springfield.
I thought it was held in Chicago.
Again, that depends on the source. But the point is that our support was not in vain, because Mr. Abraham Lincoln was elected our 16th president.
And he used his clout as such to be the second president to appoint me Postmaster. Now, Abraham Lincoln proved to be a tried and true ally of mine for years. We Bestors, in association with the Wide Awakes and 19 other prominent Peoria families, were largely responsible for Abraham Lincoln's visit to Peoria in April of 1860. Abraham Lincoln never lost sight of the service and devotion that my family showed to him throughout the years. In fact, in 1862, when the Civil War was well underway, he arranged another situation for me.
The gunboats.
Yes, the gunboats. But we'd be jumping ahead yet still, so why don't you continue?
Thank you. Like my father, I came to wear many hats in my life. Military, politics, and even law. Educated in Peoria, and after working for my father in his real estate and railroad businesses, as well as studying at Jubilee College, I was admitted to the bar and began practicing law right here in Peoria.
By now, as you can probably tell, we worked hand in hand in all aspects of our lives and business. All right, now we will discuss the gunboats. As I mentioned before, Abraham Lincoln was always looking out for me and arranging special situations and pulling strings whenever he could. Now, he sent a letter to the War Department, urging them to consider his good friend, that would be me, for the contract for building some ships for the war.
Could you read it?
I would, but the handwriting leaves something to be desired. I accepted naturally. These opportunities were always very thoughtful and well appreciated, but this one proved to be a bit taxing.
After a quick 2-year tour of duty in the Civil War with the Illinois 7th Cavalry, I went to St. Louis to assist with the building of these gunboats. The first, the USS Ozark, was launched in February of 1863 and participated in the expedition up the Red River to Alexandria, Louisiana. The second of these, the USS Shiloh, proved to be a somewhat troublesome vessel, from the building stages all the way through the launch, and ultimately, the Shiloh never saw any real service.
The building of these ships was drastically underfunded and financially mismanaged. That, coupled with the anxiety of them practically reducing me to poverty, greatly weakened my health.
We were not going to take this outrage lying down, so as an officer of the court, I reapplied my legal hat.
And we spent the last 5 years of my life prosecuting a claim in Washington, D.C. before Congress for the building of these ships for $175,000. Abraham Lincoln, as you probably know, was long gone by this time. While we were in Washington prosecuting the claim, I died there in the National Hotel in May of 1872, not far from where I was born.
The day after my father died, I managed to settle with Congress, but for a mere $25,000 of our claim. My father was buried here, in Springdale Cemetary, and members of our family continued to occupy Bestor Hall for several more years to come. I moved on with my family and took up residence in a home on Hamilton Boulevard. I had grown greatly disenchanted with the practice of law after the paltry settlement we received from the government for the building of the gunboats. For the rest of my life, I focused on real estate and other business opportunities, until I too died in 1879. After that, the old Bestor place was sold. Come, Uncle Sam, be wide
Many great
awake.
ideas, notions, and bursts of ambition were formed within the walls of Bestor Hall. The men it housed, myself and my sons, George and the others, were thought perfect gentlemen, brought into the company of other great gentlemen of service and culture, and were remembered as courageous, determined, and generous. in life, and now also in death.
Until you drive that puffer stake from off the soil forever.